The movie opens with a seasoned war veteran finally heading home after surviving a brutal conflict. He's been through hell. And now, instead of flying back, he walks all the way from Laos across vast distances, trying to return to Moscow on his own terms. But on his journey, while passing through a small town, he unknowingly violates one of their unwritten local rules, a strange custom about answering questions properly when spoken to. That small mistake changes everything. Two low-ranking uniformed policemen stop him and demand to see his papers. He cooperates, calm, silent, controlled. While one officer searches his luggage, he notices something under the man's leather jacket. Suspicious, he demands to see it. The veteran calmly lifts his jacket. It's a dagger. Both officers immediately panic. The man explains he has a license for it, but that doesn't matter. The officers take the blade anyway. When they inspect it, they recognize it as a Nepalese army cookery knife. Instead of handling this properly, they slap handcuffs on him. And then things get worse. Looking around to make sure no one is watching, one officer suddenly swings a baton at him. But this is where they make their first real mistake. The veteran reacts instantly. He dodges effortlessly. The heavier officer charges at him, but the man shifts right, pushes one down, destabilizes the other. For a brief moment, the officers realize they're completely outmatched, so they pull their guns. Not wanting to escalate things further, the veteran turns around and gets into the patrol car peacefully. But as he's stepping in, the heavier officer strikes him hard across the back with the baton. The man doesn't scream. He doesn't react. He just looks at him with cold, dead eyes, and that look says everything. These officers have no idea what they've just started. At the police station, they strip him of his belongings and cuff him again. But this isn't a real station of justice. It's basically a criminal operation wearing badges. The officers deliberately create chaos in town and then collect protection money from civilians. They split the profits among themselves. This is not law enforcement. This is corruption. Soon, a captain enters the cell and demands to know why the man didn't answer him earlier. The veteran says nothing, so the captain hits him. The man lets out a low groan, but still refuses to speak. That silence angers the captain even more. He presses the baton into the man's face and growls that he should only look at him when speaking aloud. The veteran looks at him with pure contempt, as if he's seen worse men than this. And then the beatings begin. Baton after baton rains down. Still not satisfied, the captain pulls out an electric baton. That's when the situation shifts. The veteran suddenly lunges forward and kicks the captain down. Chaos erupts. Other officers rush in to restrain him. The captain doesn't realize it yet, but he was seconds away from something much worse. They drag the man to the deputy director's office. The ignorant deputy sees the knife and mocks him, asking why he brought something like that to their town. The veteran calmly answers with one word: enemies. The deputy laughs. But then the real director enters, a heavy-set man who seems to be the only one with a little sense in the building. He orders the handcuffs removed and checks the man's identity papers. And suddenly, the mood changes. The man's name is Shamang, a major in the special forces. The same officers who were beating him moments ago almost lose their nerve. They realize exactly who they just messed with. The director quickly orders all his belongings returned, hoping to smooth things over. Everything seems fine until he does something incredibly stupid. He casually takes Shamanov's MP3 player and starts listening to music. And that one careless act almost destroys the entire police station. Shamanov walks out of the office and crosses paths with a beautiful girl. Something about her feels familiar to him, like they've met before. He leaves the station, but not long after he realizes something important. His MP3 player, it's still inside. That device isn't just music, it's what he relies on when memories hit, when sadness creeps in. He goes back, and what he walks into changes the entire direction of this story. He finds the director attempting to assault the girl inside his office. She's cornered, helpless. For a second, Shamanov stands still, as if debating whether to involve himself. Then he calmly picks up his MP3 player, pulls out the cord, wraps it tightly around his hand. The director approaches him arrogantly. Shamanov turns slowly, and in one explosive motion, he strikes. The blow hits with devastating force. The 200-pound police chief collapses helplessly to the floor. Now, Shamanov knows exactly what comes next. He grabs an ashtray, pulls out the phone cord, takes the chief's lighter, and pulls the stunned girl out of the room. He walks through the station like nothing happened. Another officer steps in his way. The ashtray flies straight into his forehead. More officers draw their guns. Shamanov uses the phone cord like a weapon, disabling them one after another. Within minutes, The entire station is in chaos, and the girl watches in shock. How can ordinary policemen stand against a special forces major? Before leaving, Shamanov dismantles every weapon in the station. He doesn't just defeat them, he disarms them. Shamanov pulls the girl outside the station, but instead of exiting cleanly, they accidentally pass through the back corridor and end up near the station's restroom. And standing there, the same policeman who had humiliated him earlier. Shamanov gently pushes the girl aside and decides to settle unfinished business. These officers don't last even one round. One young cop rushes forward to stop him, but Shamanov locks his arm, rotates it completely, and flips him hard onto the ground. At the bottom of the stairs, they run into the deputy director. Before he even understands what's happening, Shamanov drops him too. And here's the important part. Shamanov is holding back. If he used the methods he used in war, none of these men would still be breathing. Outside, in an almost surreal moment, Shamanov even lights a cigarette for one of the officers, then hands him the police chief's lighter. It's not mockery, it's dominance. The girl is still shaking. She knows what this means. She believes she's just caused a disaster. If the police catch her, they'll torture her. She tells Shamanov to leave the town and forget about her. But at the same time, the captain regains consciousness, humiliated, enraged. He immediately orders a manhunt. He wants revenge. Shamanov tries to leave quietly, but the girl refuses to abandon him. Police vehicles appear behind them. Gunfire erupts. They're not trying to arrest him anymore. They're trying to kill him. Shamanov speeds up, dodging bullets with calm precision. He times a sharp turn perfectly and cuts into a narrow road. The officers continue firing wildly, but their shooting is terrible. They miss repeatedly. Then comes one of the most insane moments. Shamanov rides down a slope, launches into the air, jumps off the motorcycle mid-motion, and runs straight toward a bulldozer. Meanwhile, the captain empties his weapon, switches to his pistol, empties that too. Not a single shot lands. As the captain tries to retreat into his car, the bulldozer slams forward and crushes the hood. Shamanov controls the machine and drives the bucket straight into the vehicle. The captain screams for the driver to reverse, but suddenly, a truck crashes in from behind. Everything explodes into flames. The entire police station has now been thrown into chaos by one man. When the police chief inspects the destruction, fear finally creeps into his face. What kind of man did he just provoke? His subordinates report the truth. Shamanov is not just any soldier. He's from the Maroon Beret Special Forces. He's participated in the top secret missions. He's been awarded medals twice for serving his country. Multiple decorations for bravery in combat, and now that man is riding through the mountains. Shamanov knows they won't let him go, so if they want to play, they'll play to the end. He reaches a ruined forest area and begins preparing. No guns, no bullets, just survival instinct. He finds matches, electrical cables, rusty nails, wood pieces. While the police complain about camping in the rain, Shamanov quietly builds weapons. He wraps nails around a wooden stick using cable, burns the ends to secure them, creates what looks like a brutal trident. He places them strategically. Then he finds a small wooden house, searches inside, finds a round metal plate, a hidden passage. He finishes preparing, puts on his MP3 player, and calmly waits. That night, two arrogant policemen drink brandy and decide to hunt him alone, hoping for glory. They see a fire near the wooden house. Thinking they found him easily, they switch off their lights and approach quietly. One officer charges toward the door. A board slams into his forehead. The second rushes in, kicked away instantly. He tries to fight back. Shamanov knocks him down with a burning stick. But again, he doesn't kill them. Instead, he gathers firewood, makes them handcuff each other by the fire, and leaves them sitting there confused. Before walking away, he tells them, "Tell your major not to look for me anymore." Morning comes. The police chief realizes two guards are missing. He orders a full search. They find the wooden house. Inside, their own men, bruised and humiliated. One bald officer even tries to claim he almost caught Shamanov, until he whispers that Shamanov warned them to stop searching. The police chief slaps him, furious. He orders a line formation search through the forest. But this is Shamanov's territory now. The forest is his battlefield. Two officers step on traps. Immediately, Shamanov launches a trident with perfect accuracy, then relocates before they even understand what happened. The police panic and fire randomly, almost hitting their own men. Three fall before they can even coordinate. Shamanov moves like a ghost. They can't see him, only feel his presence. A trident suddenly flies from nowhere and hits another target. The police chief personally leads the chase, but Shamanov disappears into the trees like smoke. After circling back, Shamanov knocks out the officers guarding the wounded, disassembles their weapons, holds a knife to their throats, and calmly orders them to take the injured back to the car and not return. Again, he's choosing not to kill. Meanwhile, the police chief leads his team to a narrow wooden bridge made from 2 tree trunks. The deputy chief criticizes him for not involving special forces. The police chief angrily orders him to scout ahead. Gunfire erupts. None of it hits. Now the police chief changes strategy. He waits, and suddenly he appears directly in front of Shamanov. This is their first true face-off. Trident versus gun. Both attack at the same time. The police chief gets injured, barely survives. He tries to carefully step over the planks, but Shamanov appears behind him again. This becomes a close-quarters fight. Gun against blade. The police chief ejects a bullet from his chamber. Shamanov grabs it mid-motion and slaps him across the face with it. Never anger a maroon beret. Still arrogant, even with a knife at his throat, the chief refuses to yield. So, Shamanov punches him down and walks away. Breathing heavily, Shamanov returns toward the mountain base, and someone is waiting. A man in dark glasses, Colonel Dmitri of Defense Intelligence, Shamanov's former trainer. No one understands him better. Dmitri tells the police chief to stop chasing him. If Shamanov wanted them dead, none of them would leave this forest alive. This is mercy, but the police chief refuses to listen. Then he receives news. A helicopter will arrive in 15 minutes. Air support. Confidence returns to his face. He orders the forest surrounded. He will personally finish this. The helicopter arrives. Now the balance shifts. The police chief finally feels powerful again. With air support circling above, he orders a full surround of the forest. This time, he's determined to end it personally. Hearing the helicopter blades cutting through the air, Shamanov immediately understands the situation. Air superiority, which means he can't stay still. He starts moving through the forest, constantly changing direction, dodging bullets raining down from above. He doesn't fire back. He just survives. Ahead of him, a cliff. No time to hesitate. Without slowing down, Shamanov jumps. For a moment, it looks like he's been shot mid-air. His body drops into the water below. The police chief still isn't satisfied. He orders the helicopter to keep scanning the water surface. Only when the fuel runs low do they finally retreat. Shamanov drifts downstream for who knows how long. Eventually, an old man finds him unconscious on the shore. That old man saves his life. And when Shamanov wakes up inside the old man's home, he realizes something surprising. The old man's granddaughter is the same girl he rescued from the police station. Her name is Nastia. Seeing him barely alive, Nastia feels overwhelming guilt. She believes everything that happened is her fault. The old man removes the bullet from Shamanov's body. Nastia gathers the courage to stitch his wound. That night, once he regains some strength, Shamanov decides he has to leave. He doesn't want to bring more danger to them, but Nastia refuses to stay behind. If the police chief finds her, she's dead, so she chooses to go with him. However, Shamanov is still weak. To stay safe, they decide to spend the night in a nearby thatched hut. Early the next morning, armed men arrive at the old man's house. They're not police. They're escaped criminals, the very ones the police were supposedly hunting. The old man is shot by a sniper. Shamanov hears the gunshot. There's no avoiding this fight. He gives his dagger to Nastia and steps out alone. At first, he pretends to be harmless and infiltrates their group. Meanwhile, Nastia hides in the attic, but one of the criminals discovers her. He pretends to cooperate, then locks her inside to deceive his leader, secretly signaling to Shamanov. These criminals plan to escape by water, but their boat engine is broken. Shamanov offers to repair it. The leader studies his hands, sees skill, and agrees. 2 men guard him. To fix the engine, he needs tools. He plans to use this as a chance to reach the stable and rescue Nastia, but the blonde criminal insists on going himself. Inside the stable, the blonde man confronts Nastia. After a short exchange, he reveals his true intentions. When she resists, he becomes violent and hangs her. In desperation, she kicks him and escapes to another room. Then she remembers the dagger Shamanov gave her. When the blonde man enters again, now holding the trident, Nastia strikes. She stabs his leg, and then again, and again. The once gentle girl crosses a line she can't uncross. At the same time, Shamanov eliminates the guard outside and rushes in. He sees Nastia covered in blood. Another robber enters. They clash instantly, grabbing each other's gun barrels, kicking simultaneously. The robber is bigger, but not better trained. Shamanov overpowers him. When the robber tries to recover his weapon, Shamanov grabs a nearby sickle and drives it straight into his chest. This time, Shamanov does not hold back. The remaining criminals fall quickly. When police and special forces finally arrive, The 5 escaped criminals are already dead. No arrests necessary. The police chief sees the cookery knife again. He knows Shamanov is alive. Enraged, he grabs Nastia and demands to know where Shamanov is. He doesn't realize Shamanov is watching from nearby. The chief forces Nastia into his car. Suddenly, Shamanov appears. The chief prepares to fire. Nastia pushes him away. Gunshots ring out. When the chief turns around, Shamanov is gone again. At that moment, the Special Forces commander arrives and scolds the police chief, preventing Nastia from being tortured further. But now the mission changes. The escaped criminals are dead. Yet a more dangerous target remains. Orders from above capture Shamanov alive. Shamanov runs to an abandoned building. Special Forces pursue him. This time, he raises his hands against the wall, appearing to surrender, but one of the soldiers attempts to use a stun gun anyway. The moment Shamanov hears the electrical charge, he reacts. Within seconds, the top fighter in the Special Forces unit is defeated. The commander draws his pistol, but Shamanov disarms him and even takes his grenade. Still, he doesn't kill him. When the commander falls into water, Shamanov pulls him out before escaping through a water pipe. Again, mercy. But the police chief knows the town. He surrounds the only exit of that pipe. Soon, Shamanov emerges. They fire wildly. Again, terrible aim. Shamanov leaps into a small wooden house. Gunfire fills the air. But something strange happens. The bullets leave smoke, yet the wooden walls show no damage, as if the house is reinforced. Frustrated, the police chief brings out a rocket launcher. He fires. The house explodes into flames. Confident, he declares it over and orders them to find the body. Meanwhile, a general visits the injured Special Forces commander in the hospital. Nastia bursts in and tells the full story. The general begins understanding the truth. Back at the station, Colonel Dmitri waits quietly for the police chief. He advises him to drink his brandy, because if Shamanov returns for his MP3 player, he shouldn't be afraid. At the same time, officers discover a secret tunnel, but as they descend, a gun is pointed at their faces. Shamanov, now wearing a police uniform, calmly walks out. He punches a driver, steals the car, and knocks down 2 officers who try to chase him. He breaks into the station where one guard is casually eating noodles and watching TV. Target locked. He's here for the police chief. Outside, Special Forces surround the building. Colonel Dmitri enters and warns Shamanov. An entire army is outside. He urges him to surrender and return to Moscow, but Shamanov refuses. He cannot tolerate a system where citizens live under fear. His comrades did not die for corruption like this. Unexpectedly, Shamanov lets the police chief live. He sits inside calmly, prepared to face the Special Forces. Then the general arrives and orders everyone to stand down. But just as the chief is about to be arrested, he grabs Nastia hostage. He still believes he's the hero of this town. He boasts about everything he's done. Then, through the smoke, Shamanov steps forward. After everything that happened, the police chief finally understands he cannot win. He releases Nastia. He surrenders. Peace slowly returns to the small town. Orders come from above. Shamanov and Colonel Dmitri will return to Moscow together. As the car drives away, Nastia stands silently watching until it disappears from sight. And that's where the movie ends.